If you see a author in a cinema, largest potential she, or he, will be tap on a notebook. But lot youthful writers are making it on portable phones, and occasionally in teams. Daniel, who uses the pen behalfless vendor, begins the history, that his written crew decides to urge a little instance of author's unit. The tap of Sarah's pen versus her spectacles became so rhythmical how it voiced love, a metronome set to allegretto. She twisted in her swivel armchair, observer the bookcases in her research swinging by. She had to recognize it, her history was jammed, her letter were jammed, and so was she. Ella, pen behalf L, who has 313 stories by her waist, later picks up the story. Sighing, she slumped Stryker, brow affecting the desktop in a knock. How was she departure to hold the story Hilly Stryker, offer her letter the growth they necessary. Her eyes swiveled to the box, the window mat above in slim ice pack. Perhaps a go external in the common cold at 276 letter, L has almost achieved her 280 range, so she stops medium sentence and passes the history to the following author. Thou can recite the otherwise of the history at the lower of the web page. Greet to the planet of Inkvite, one of a quantity of artistic writing platforms famous in younger generation and youthful adults in the US. It allows users to stake stories, commentary on them, and as well cooperate. There, 5 Inkvite authors explanation its circulation. I'm a undergraduate in Houston, Texas. I've dreamed of Creature, a published author with I Was Slight. I've located more than rather than 390 stories on the Inkvite app in the history 2 year, specializing in imagination and scientific fictitious. We courier a lot of our internal confusion and tension on the application. It's one of the things how brings us along. Several writers do the via their fictitious, other consider the plate more than love an outdoor journal. I recall one period I saw which my boyfriend Phoenix had spelled and I knew she was in anxiety. I could speak Phoenix was departure via confusion and severe distress, ventilation her tension in the history. But I could as well see how she was achieving out for assist. So how's why I devoted a history to her, for promotion, that I located on Inkvite how identical overnight. Phoenix messaged me informally on the app to say she highly regarded it. We can as well keep social feedback loop on stories. Inkvite gives you supporting, both of artistic and emotion. It's tightly knit. I believe it's cold since we are all these strangers written on an application, but we include the reciprocal honor and we consider every sum as household. I recall I cried while I recite Athalia's written on Inkvite. She writes updates on her household lifetime and verse. I wrote messages to supporting her. If I recite things sad, I'd communication her to tell, if whatever happens to you in the next you can ever discover me and say to me. I expect she feels superior. I united Inkvite while I was 12 in 2016. At first I was yet detecting my own written styling. I'm Malaysia and it's a way to enhance British. Now I do mostly imagination and novel. It's pleasant to include human beings to supporting you in their comments, written is very alone way. I compose in pairs, but never a 4 persons. It's too overcrowded. While I cooperate I loving written in L. Fortunately, since of the period distinction, she starts previous and I compose deceased at overnight. I was a fan of L's stories and she had been a motive for me to hold on written, so I messaged her and I requested for a cooperation. I begun written while I was 10. I never share any of my job in nobody, fair stored it on a folder on a machine. My friends ultimately emboldened me to break down out of my bladder. Of about the age of 14 I begun written on Inkvite. I excited about a lot in my infancy, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. I was change schools all the period. I'm usually timid, manufacturing friends was hard. Inkvite and its written society was a continuous for me, while all was change. Inkvite is just one of a quantity of apps how allow human beings to compose on their portable telephone, commentary on every sum's job, and talk openly and informally. Other involve Wattpad, begun in 2006 and relying in Canada. It has more than rather than 70 millionth users and 400 millionth downloaded stories, manufacturing it lot greater rather than Inkvite Movellas, a plate based in Denmark in 2009. It's famous in younger generation and has been utilized in schools as a way to learn British Pinana. Love Inkvite. It allows for joint written. It as well has charts for largest favorite and largest annotated users. Created in 1998, it has millions of users who compose stories encouraged by TV shows, comics or films. I utilized to compose each overnight on my portable following I'd completed my homework assignment. I recognize while I begun of, it was a distress produce. I love the reality it's nameless, no knows yours actual behalf, but they get to aware you via fair yours written. I requested on the internet relationships to assist my written and I as well requested to supporting some human beings on their written journeys. But I've never met any of my Inkvite friends in actual lifetime. Now I'm in my at first year of school in Georgia. My period is more than dispersed but I yet to choose to compose at overnight, in my bedroom. I utilized to be more than ideal, I requested to be a published author. It's type of immaterial, but I aware I can personality publish. I dwell in Riverside, California. I job for a trucking business, in the behind office space. I do the invoicing. I loving imagination and terror, so natural I'm a Steven Tsar blower. I'm 38, perhaps one of the senior human beings on the application. Inkvite plant vary so since it feels love you are receive out a fast lyrics, or a chirp or thing. You get an concept in yours chief, you can be permanent on a coach, or on a breakdown at job, while in concept traffic thou. You don't include how time interval wherever you are steadfast at the keypad or empty web page. It appeals to how smartphone psychological, down there are notifications on yours telephone, the app tells you while it's yours rotate on a history, while you see how slight red dot in the quantity on it, you go, oh I requirement to do how. While you are written on yours their own, line fictitious, ideas go up love camping poles. But while you compose in a crew, things can go in a fully sudden line. It's a large item to abandon monitoring of written. Occasionally you get a new prospect on the history how makes it breathtaking. Who might ensure an understanding in a nature how you had not deliberate. Down there's a lot of opportunities to surprise party every some. I was painted to Inkvite since I requested to compose things how I didn't definitely wish to include my shut friends recite. I was a adolescent while the app begun, and favorite creature capable to immediately communicate in human beings who were various ages and of some components of the planet rather than me. I could stake my job in human beings out of questions love, is the nature me, or reason is the so black / weird / etc., how I would include God of dividing fictitious above a private blog post. The app is a nice way for me to look how I've grown up as a author and man. I've with remote several of my more than youthful plant, but it's a way to lowly myself. I can't act love I'm superior rather than guys on the application, since they can roll behind on my section and recite several angsty item I wrote in 2012. While I was wiring routinely, it was pleasant to be capable to see a child's a-paragraph history on their day at high school following to my sonnets, and my stories following to such of who 2 times my year. I begun written since I include a lot of creation how I requested to stake, and since it was pleasant to include my thoughts approved as spelled job. I stayed in written, and the application, for the more profound relationships how can shape of dividing ideas. There's the end of a little instance of author's unit, in contributions of Clara and Melanie. Perhaps a go in the common cold, would iskra thing. Really, the common cold air untangled several of her dirty thoughts. The trees swayed in the breeze, and the sky was grey. Her history was set in the common cold weather, too, that she could refer now as her fingertips froze. She wandered in the gateway, daydreaming of a shiny complete to the head she'd been work on for so length. As Sarah monitored the at first snowflakes of the time of year start to drifting downward, her thoughts bring down in location as so. She marched behind within. occasionally all it took was a breathing of crispy air to refresh her reason.